This week's episode of The Totally Rad Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com.
Click it or ticket.
And Squarespace.
Let me just say, because it seems to me that you could just start a black hole near the planet. You could throw that shit on the planet.
Yeah.
Still gonna be a black hole.
It's still gonna be a black hole, and it's still gonna be bad, but it's not gonna pull the planet in onto itself.
Why not? If
It will try to pull it towards the thing and give people time to get off the other side. So you just run to Africa.
It's still doing that, though.
Our space.
It's still sucking from the inside. It's still...
No. It's sucking from this side in like this, so this whole side could launch ships out. But if it came from the inside out...
That's what it looked like.
No, it was falling. No, it was falling in, but it was doing that all over. And
so if you live on the edges, you could still get off.
Yeah, but
the equator. That's why people live on the equator.
The goal wasn't to initiate a black hole.
It was to destroy the planet.
It was to destroy the planet.
And that was the most effective way.
That's what I'm saying, is that you could, let's say I'm in my house and I have some of the red shit that creates a singularity, and I go bonk onto the ground and it goes...
It would be bad.
It would be bad.
Well,
yeah,
California would be gone, but not the world.
No, but it's like you're going to blow up a country with an atom bomb. You could blow it up near the country. It's still going to F up the country, but what's the best thing to do?
Blow it up in the drill into the center of the country?
Well, no, who knows what that technology... It's like, I was actually arguing with Dave Chen from Slashfilm about this. He said, why did the mining thing need to come out from the ship? And then, like, why couldn't it just come from the ship? Why did it have to, like, have this structure that seems so superfluous? And I was like, well, look, it's like us arguing about copy and paste not being on the iPhone. We have this crazy gizmo that does something, but we're complaining about why doesn't it do this? They're probably up there complaining, why do we have to drill into the planet to make this black hole happen? Why do we just melt this? We could put Borg in space, and we can't freaking throw a black hole in a planet. Dude.
Are you looking at...
It's Mother's Day. Yes, I am looking at videos from
letterstoMom.com?
Yeah, I was thinking about putting one up there to Mom.
Oh, what is that one?
Hi, Mum, it's me. Just wanted to let you know we got here and it's great. The weather's been wonderful and everyone's... Hello, TRSs. This is Central Control.
This is to us.
We are resorting to mind waves to relay this message to you. We feel we should warn you at this point in time that the person we are speaking through is either English or has been in some kind of accident. They clearly talk funny. Witness their pronunciation of the word Bob. Clearly, this should be Bob. But instead, well, your mission this week is to review the movie The Girlfriend Experience, the game Klonoa, and to help Agent Busiek in his promotion of the comic books Marvels and Astro City. And remember, keep up the good work against the totally bad show and their inappropriate product placement. Control out. So it's been wonderful. I'll see you next week.
Three rad guys living normal lives are recruited by a team of super spies. Their missions classified, but you may surmise they battle evil by quoting movie lines. Game and TV guides are used like knives to quell the rise of demon samurais. We know it sounds contrived, but we tell no lies. It's as the name implies, the Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 112. I'm Alex Albright.
I'm Jeff Canada. I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The Totally Rad Show is your weekly dose of all things rad. We go down to the local mathematician and use an abacus to count out our episode numbers because that's how amount that is.
I know how to use an abacus.
I know how to use an abacus.
I learned how to do it.
I went to Crunchy Hippie School. Wait.
When you were losing...
How did you just...
You learned Chinese in the 12th century, evidently.
Well, I was being tutored in Chinese. They didn't offer any school I went to. And I really wanted to learn Chinese.
Should get... Oh, right, because you were in the martial art.
Yeah, I was in...
No.
I wanted to learn how to make movies in Hong Kong. So I learned Mandarin, which was weird. But I asked to be taught how to use the abacus. And there was a degree where it got very difficult, but for the first portion of it,
when you do calculations on it,
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really easy.
I think you would only use it for calculations.
No, but it's really easy to like count and move numbers and stuff like that. But when you get into multiplying multiple numbers,
was tough.
Speaking of Chinese, we are so fortunate to have a really awesome background this week.
Yes, Manny, who actually directed the movie Battle for Terra, sent in a Battle for Terra background using
Yeah.
elements from Battle
The
for Terra.
actual assets, evidently
What?
the 3D, because it's a 3D animated movie.
Yeah.
Being
This is
screened.
evidently the actual assets rendered for our background.
Our background
So
is not
amazing.
in 3D, but the movie, you can go see Battle for Terra. Unfortunately, it was competing against Wolverine the past week.
Yeah.
But
Which did
it's
well.
in 3D.
Yeah.
So
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
We should go catch it if we can. Yeah. All right. Well, shall we get into the show, gentlemen?
Oh, wait, what before
no.
we do?
See, this is why I asked.
We gotta say 2 things.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
No,
Day.
Dan doesn't have a mother. No, I'm just kidding. And happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Dan!
Dan!
What?
Stan's birthday this
Day
week.
after
It's
my
like-
birthday today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Mother's Day, bam. Dan's Day, bam. So we got some stuff planned for Dan. Maybe a little later. Maybe.
maybe a little later.
A little later. All right.
Woohoo!
Show.
Interesting. This week in movies, we're talking about The Girlfriend Experience, which is coming out in theaters May 22nd, but it's actually out now on demand and Xbox Live.
Yep.
A bold strategy.
A bold strategy.
Yes.
So it's from Steven Soderbergh, who is the pioneer of independent films and has done movies like. He's done 2 kinds of movies: the experimental ones and the commercial ones. He's done
Ocean's 11.
the Ocean's movies,
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich, Traffic, and then he's done Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Bubble, Schizopolis, Full Frontal, and I would say The Girlfriend Experience.
Definitely.
In the
which
experimental
category.
Yes. The Girlfriend Experience stars real-life porn star Sasha Grey, as in the movie she plays a high-priced escort who the movie's set basically in the financial crisis.
Last November, really.
And it explores Chelsea, this high-priced escort, and her relationship with a boyfriend, struggling to make that happen and deal with the financial crisis, being someone who's in her situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like a high-concept comedy premise, but
Isn't.
it's not directed by Judd Apatow or anyone of that ilk. It is mostly non-actors. In fact, all non-actors playing roles that are close to who they are in real life, and seems mostly improvisational, told very non-linearly.
Very similar to the TV series that he did.
He produced a TV series
And
that
he directed some of the episodes
unscripted.
too, right?
I don't think so. His partner Grant Heslov, who's the Middle Eastern guy who's in the True Lies.
Yeah.
That actor. He's an amazing
yeah,
director.
yeah, yeah.
Unscripted was a phenomenal TV series that
Oh,
also.
no, I'm not talking about unscripted. I'm talking about the Something Street, the one he did about. He and George Clooney teamed up to produce, and I think he directed most of the episodes. It's about the lobbyists in Washington.
Oh, I don't know
it's-
that.
Huh? K Street.
K
Street.
Street.
You didn't watch K Street?
No.
Oh, this is K Street.
But interesting, unscripted is the same thing, where they took a group of
Right.
young actors in Hollywood who aren't getting work and
Followed their story.
followed them, but it was totally fictional.
Right.
Anyway, what did you think of the Girlfriend Experience? Was your experience Girlfriend-like?
Here's the thing. I'm not a big experimental movie guy, right? I've gone on record, meat and potatoes, that's my joint.
Right.
There are some that transcend the genre, in my opinion. This was experimental to be experimental, you know what I mean? Acting, not good. On purpose, these are not actors. But to me, I feel like, but it's almost like painting without using paint, like using a poor substitute for paint. Because it's like, but it's a painting, and you want it to be judged as a painting, you should use brushes. You know what I mean? It's almost like having bad acting in an experimental movie is sort of, for me, it doesn't make it more experimental, it makes it a bad movie, and I can't get behind what experiment you're trying to do, right? I feel like there's a baseline, like, you can screw with the lighting, but you can't have no light. It can't be a pitch black movie the whole time unless it's not a movie. You know what I mean? It's an audiobook. which could
Or
be
the
good.
movie Pitch Black.
Or the movie Pitch Black, which is great.
That's a Pitch Black movie the whole time.
So there's a lot of that I was like, I just couldn't get by the bad acting. I thought the porn chick was fairly good. I didn't think she was all that bad, but there were some really standout bad performances. And the move around stuff, I just found the whole thing really boring. And the other thing is, there was no reason to cast a porn star in this role. I thought it was going to be one of those situations that was going to be pushing the envelope of what you can and can't show sexually in a movie, and it was going to be a very big experiment on that, and that's why they cast a girl who was comfortable having sex on camera, and maybe it was going to be one of those things that was going to be, we're going as close to the NC-17 as we can, and we're doing it because, society should be, shouldn't be so, looking down on sex when violence is so to me, that was the only reason why you cast a porn star. There's no sex in this movie. She's nude once, so I kind of feel like, why cast somebody when you could just cast an actress who...
I think that
I feel that way about the whole cast.
Yeah, I think the reason they cast her was because her life experience is analogous to the life experience of this person. Her commodity is her body.
I get that, yeah.
And she does these things with people that aren't necessarily of her choosing.
For money.
And the movie is as much about capitalism and commerce as it is about sex and relationships. It's really not really much about relationships. In fact, the thing that I found the most disappointing about the movie is that the essential relationship between the two leads I found to be not believable in the slightest. That they had
It was
this
sort of
open,
never together.
And there was a few scenes where they were, but I never bought the fact that they were. I never understood why they were together, and the fact that he's okay with this weird open relationship, I never believed that. And I think it's barely a movie. As an experimental movie, I mean, it's like an hour and 15 minutes long, and it's really interesting in some parts, but ultimately I think it falls flat, and it's not the kind of movie that needed to be released in theaters, and it's interesting you can just watch it at home. Might be worth checking out just to see what somebody who's smart in films is kind of playing with, but I have a problem, like you evidently do, Alex, with these improvised movies where they just turn the camera on and let two people sort of just start talking, and most of the time, when it's not a comedy like Christopher Guest films, most of the time those don't turn out to be particularly interesting because writing and telling a story is really an art. And this feels more like a collage of not particularly well-spoken people.
Wow. I disagree wholeheartedly with both you guys.
Oh, wow.
I actually loved the movie, and it's probably one of my favorite movies that's come out this year. And not only that, but I thought the acting was incredible. I felt specifically her boyfriend should get lots of work after this film. I found the relationship to be incredibly believable and realistic in a way that we don't often see in movies. And I agree too but not only, I really enjoyed the relationship story, and we only saw snippets of it, but it spoke to larger things, but I definitely agree that it's also a lot about the economy. And a lot of what you see is sort of a metaphor and criticism and all that stuff, and the guy playing the
Blogger,
critic
yeah.
is an actual journalist for, I forget.
That's probably why he was so bad.
But yeah, I didn't find out. I agree with Jeff that she was cast because it reflects her own life, so she was able to speak about those things. I think it was partially scripted, and I also think, while I prefer when he does brings his unique approach to filmmaking to more commercial movies, because when he has entire conversations in wide shots in the Ocean's movies or out of sight, or when a frame adjusts midway through a conversation, in a commercial film it's more striking, and in here it's more natural. It's more of its thing, but I love everything reflected the emotion of what I was experiencing. There's a moment where the camera sort of slowly pushes in on their conversation, and we don't have any camera movement of that sort throughout the whole movie, and it was so incredible because their conversation was growing and becoming more and more at each other's heads, and the motion of the camera was so subtle and reflected that. And there's moments where they're out of focus and the background's in focus, and for some reason it just totally worked for me. It totally reflected
that
how
moment
I felt.
actually took me out of the movie. That was the real turn moment for me when they're at the bar and the whole scene is blurry. And I kept trying to think, and it's really funny because now knowing you, I kept trying to think, what is this supposed to mean? I hear them completely clearly. I understand what they're talking about, so it's not like I'm out of the conversation is sort of out of focus. No, like they were being very specific. So there were definitely times like that where I was like, Dan is going to say that this is something, and I need to figure it out. And
No,
I
it's
was
just.
like,
I think Steven Soderbergh. Also, let me just say the editing is so. There's just this. We don't know everything at once. We think we know things, then we know
like
something
that.
later.
Yeah.
And the way the story evolves over time, I thought
it ended
spectacular.
completely.
You would really,
abruptly,
really,
too.
really like K Street, and I don't know if it's out on DVD, but if it is, it's exactly this, except it's got like James Carville and Mary Matlin mixed in with actors, like the guy with white hair from Mad Men is one of the main characters.
yeah.
So it's actors mixed with non-actors, and it's like real senators and lobbyists in Washington mixed with actors in weird situations. And it works in the same exact way. And I think, for my money, I think what Soderbergh is going for with this movie and with K Street is that feeling of fly on the wall cinema verite thing that I think, for me, is trying to do what Woody Allen naturally does writing. And where you get these long takes of actors acting, and it seems like a conversation that is pulled right out of my life, but there's an artfulness to the writing, the structure, rather than just allowing it to be organic and sort of flimsy, in my opinion.
And maybe it's
I
because I am.
disagree. I think those are two separate styles of
Yeah.
filmmaking.
Well, clearly they are, but
separate-
I think they're shooting for the same goal.
Right. I will say for me, it
Yeah.
might be that I'm an actor that I get so offended at bad acting when you purposefully didn't cast actors.
I don't know. I'm shocked that you guys thought you guys must be shocked that I thought the acting was good because I'm
utterly.
flabbergasted that you guys
It's not-
were,
it's not
especially
acting.
the male actor.
I couldn't
couldn't
stand
believe
that
how
guy.
incredible he was. I thought I found it so human, so believable. Just little minor things were like, this is just real. I thought it was like a
between him
cinematic
and-
documentary.
The scene between him and his boss seemed like two people who didn't know how to do improv trying to improv a scene. Like
Yeah, it didn't feel
it
that
just
way to
was
me. It
like
felt to me too.
so static and like stagnant. So you have something
Okay,
that's cool and
so
exciting.
anyway, moving on. So Cinematical is doing a series. Cinematical is a film blog. Is doing a series of the best summer of movies.
What do you
Because it
mean?
seems like every year, it's like, wow, there are so many movies coming out this year.
Spider-Man and Iron
Yeah,
Man.
last year we had Indiana Jones
Batman,
and Dark Knight.
Spider-Man and
Right.
or Batman.
Transformers.
And now they're
Iron Man.
recalling is all these movies that we grew up with and loved. They
Yeah.
came out one summer. You know, some of them all in one summer.
Yeah.
And Scott Weinberg, who I met briefly down at South by Southwest, he introduced Best Worst Movie, and he's
Oh, yeah.
in Best Worst Movie. He picked 1984
as his biggest year ever.
as his
Biggest summer ever.
as his favorite summer. Not
Okay.
as
Also
his
his
favorite
favorite
summer.
book.
I'm gonna run
Not
through
movie, though.
some of the summer. Opening weekend of the
Okay.
summer, May 4th.
Okay.
Was The Bounty, Break-In, Hard
Break-In.
Bodies, 16 Candles.
It's a good summer.
So we get
It's a good
seminal
weekend.
John
Wait.
Hughes movie.
Break-In
And Break-In.
and 16 Candles.
Do you have
all
the
came
information
out-
of what these movies made? Did Break-In make money when it came out? Because
I don't
I
know.
remember watching it
I mean, I
over
could-
and over and over
Dude,
and over.
Break
on
Into
video.
probably a
Electric
sequel,
Boogaloo.
so-
Yeah, Break Into
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo, which by the way was my
I
favorite.
wanted to be Turbo so bad.
The next
We all were.
weekend, May 11th, my birthday,
okay.
was Firestarter. Awesome.
Oh, Stephen King.
adaptation. Drew
Drew
Barrymore
Barrymore from E.T.
I think her next role
Yep,
after
yep,
E.T.
yep.
And The Natural. Right?
Wow, that is a
seminal
big
baseball
summer.
Again,
film.
another movie I didn't watch until it was on HBO. or
The
at home.
following week
And I
was
cried as a
Oh,
little kid.
you can't.
I remember my parents going, "Why are you crying?" Because when he hits
"It's
the home run
natural."
and it's
It's awesome.
I didn't see most of these. I did not see in theaters. Finders Keepers.
well,
is next
you weren't
week.
alive, I don't think.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I was 3.
Wow, okay.
Good movie.
Big.
Huge.
I've heard of that one.
My brother has a poster that it says coming. Is it May 22nd? May 23rd here, but I think he had a poster that said coming May 22nd. I always, as a kid, I was like, wow, there's a time where this movie hadn't come out yet. People were looking
That's
forward
funny.
to. Trust him was the tagline.
That's funny.
The next summer, Once Upon a Time in America, Sergio Leone doing a gangster film.
Okay.
Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Wow.
And one of my favorites I had not seen till I was way older, Streets of Fire, which was basically the musical, the Michael Pear.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you never saw Streets of Fire?
No.
It is.
Neither.
It is like a Walter Hill directed it. It's this like urban. Willem Dafoe is in it.
It's not the Capoeira one. No, that's Never Back Down.
Only the Strong
Only the
from
Strong,
like
yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 3
10
years ago.
Not 84. Next, Ghostbusters and Gremlins
On the same day?
on the same movie weekend.
It's craziness.
Wow.
Ghostbusters, Gremlins.
Well, I've said it many times on the show, but it bears repeating again. I think Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
It ranks probably my favorite comedy ever.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
basically,
yeah.
so that was basically a PG-13 with a R-rated Christmas scene.
No, this is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is the reason PG-13 was created.
Right.
So I don't think any of these
yeah.
movies were rated PG-13
I
yet.
think Ghostbusters is PG-13. Only because I
No,
wasn't allowed to see it.
I don't think so. I'm almost positive it's PG because it wasn't until
Temple of
Doom
Doom
came
right.
out
No,
and
I-
wasn't PG-13 that we need to make one.
Right, but this did come out post, and
Like
the
a couple
FDA
of
decide-
weeks.
No, but they didn't decide the day it came out that it was rated PG-13. I don't know if Ghostbusters rated PG-13, but
I'm willing to bet it's not.
okay. The next weekend,
Michael said that.
next weekend, The Karate Kid, the movie that
Wow.
changed my life, and Top Secret. The
All
Val
of these
Kilmer.
came out that is crazy.
Next, Bachelor Party, Cannonball Run 2, and
pretty
Conan
good.
the Destroyer. So 2 lesser sequels.
crazy.
And,
Yeah, but still,
yeah.
I mean, lesser.
The next weekend, The Last Starfighter and Muppets Take Manhattan.
Unreal.
I would have never thought that those movies all came
The
out.
next weekend, The Neverending Story and Revenge of the Nerds.
What?
Revenge of the Nerds
It's
rated R.
It's like the 84 just keeps getting better.
I was nowhere near Revenge of the Nerds. I was all
yeah,
over
dude.
Neverending Story, which I only saw on video. I didn't even see that in the theater.
That one summer is responsible for more hours of viewing in my
dude,
youth.
bro.
The
Oh,
next
I could
weekend,
possibly
you will be
express.
happy that Purple Rain was released.
I was.
I to this day have not seen Purple Rain, but I
We
have
need to make
seen.
that happen, Dan.
I have seen that weekend Meatballs Part 2 came out, which I love more than Meatballs because it had that weird alien
We need to
ET like
I
thing.
need to get you to watch
Yeah.
Purple Rain, dude.
The next weekend, this is what's great. The Philadelphia Experiment. So I didn't realize that. So that also starred Michael Pear. I love the Philadelphia
Yeah, me
Experiment.
too.
So I didn't realize that he was kind of a big deal. Streets of Fire had come out earlier. He was like
Was that the one?
Jason Statham or
was
something.
that the
of
one?
that-
Was that the one with the ship and he's in the Navy and then he gets like
So
Sucked
good.
back into
and then-
time.
Yeah.
So good.
Sucked forward
Yeah.
in time. And then Buckaroo Banzai, Cloak and Dagger, and Red Dawn. What? It's so weird that all these movies came out in theaters to me.
Are you
Because I
skipping
thought
over-
they only
Are
existed.
you skipping over the crap?
Yeah, are you skipping over the crap?
Yes.
I'm not mentioning Joy of Sex, Grandview USA. I mean,
Yeah, okay, so
there's
it's not like those were the only releases. I'm like,
Jesus.
there were no bad
Well,
movies that came
mostly,
out.
Mostly those. Okay.
Mostly come out at night.
Yeah, the next
Mostly.
one, Dreamscape
Love it.
and Tightrope, and then Chud
Tightrope is a good movie.
comes out the following weekend.
Amazing.
So I never saw
Dude,
Dreamscape, but
big summer.
it's just weird. Like Cloak and Dagger, I only knew. I didn't know that actually had a theatrical release. You know what I mean? Like I only
Yeah, I
saw
mean, I
these
know
because
as a
I was so
kid,
young
yeah.
on video, and they became such a staple of my childhood. And I was like, I can't imagine seeing that all those movies that we know, we rent, we
Yeah.
share, we watched over and over again. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
people were lining. Were
The
not
way I
lining
saw
up,
most of those
but-
movies, the thing that started was
HBO.
Let's
move on.
So the game we've been playing this week is a kind of a retro game, a Wii title from Namco. It's Klonoa, and Klonoa is a series that's been around for a long time, since the early PlayStation 1 days. And it's a game that they really don't make too much anymore. It used to be the game that ruled the roost, an adorable,
Floppy-eared,
iconic
yeah.
mascot type character.
I think I played it on the GBA.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. Loved it.
In a a 2D platforming environment, left side of the screen, right to the right side of the screen, collecting things along the way, bopping enemies on the head, that kind of thing, Mario style. This is an update to the PlayStation version, and it's on the Wii, but it doesn't really use many of the Wii staples like the motion controller. It's a pretty standard 2D platformer, but it's all 3D graphics, so the graphics have had a major upgrade. But the gameplay remains pretty much the same. So Dan, was this a fun kind of throwback for you? Or
Loved
did you-
it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I love this. I love playing these kinds of games. I wish there was more of them.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
It's weird too because there used to be tons of them.
I know. It was the game. It was the game that everyone.
Yeah, it was the FPS of its time.
Yeah, I mean, it does subtle things to f with the way you play your character. Jump. It's not just Mario where B is run fast and A is jump, and you have to use those skills to traverse the game. Your jump has a hesitation in it, so it changes the way you think about that. And double jumps do different things. And
Well, you also have to use enemies to jump.
right, it's
higher.
like those subtle, tiny little, just a nudge does enough to make the experience new and fun that you don't need to make things 3D, going in 3D space or Paper Mario where you don't need to do crazy things. Just little nudges.
But they do interesting
platforming.
stuff with the 3D graphics in the sense that
absolutely,
you
yeah.
see where you're going to be before you get there, and you'll go around corners, and it'll stay ostensibly it's what they call 2.5D, because you do go back into the 3D space, but you're always on a 2D plane for playing.
What I mean is you don't need to Mario 64 or Uncharted or Jak and Daxter or Crash Bandicoot. Platformers don't have to be just 3D.
Right.
Like there's still enough to be done. It's kind of like with special effects in movies. As once they started having computers in the fray, that we then had less good stuff happening in computers that eventually got better, and we've stopped progressing the art of practical effects.
Right.
And it's sort of like I wish that now practical effects are being combined to make better movies, and I wish that, like that in platforming, we could continually up the ante in just this 2D or 2.5D.
It's interesting that you're comparing 3D graphics to 3D graphics.
It is.
That was a
Did you
good
have fun playing
comparison.
it?
I had a blast. I mean, I loved Klonoa on the GBA. Like, once I got into, oh yeah, right, I have the thing that scoops enemies and I can double jump off of them. It was like a blast. And then I will just to point something out for me. I really dislike that sometimes these games, the cutscenes seem like they're built in molasses. Like there's just this really
I skipped
slow.
all of them. I said, F it. No
I don't
way.
care with the story. I'm doing it.
No
And
way is this happening for me.
Because there are ways that cutscenes can be fun, but for some reason, and Nintendo is, I think, and maybe it's the
we'll be
translation
talking about
from
that later,
Japan.
won't we?
But for me, it definitely is that move through slow molasses of even just the exchange. It's not like the writing's bad or the
No, the
story's
writing is
slow.
pretty bad.
Well, but that's not the.
I mean, it's
the-
simplistic and kid-like.
It is, but if that was snappy and like moved, I'd be like, I'd just get through. Okay, you know, I mean, I get it's a kid's game, but there's just the exchanges were bad. But the platforming aspect of it is great. It's super fun. The 2D.5 is great because it's like you get to see where you're going, and then you go, how do I get there? And then sometimes the way that you get there is totally not the way you think, and you're like, oh, I'm in that place. My mind's blown.
Yeah, I liked it too. You know, it doesn't compare to the heights of the genre. It doesn't compare to Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii, which it really, to me, it stands out even more when you play another game like it and you see just how much creativity there was in Galaxy. Every single level is just mind-blowingly inventive. But yes, you guys are absolutely right. It's still worth playing. And if you never played this on the PlayStation and you have a Wii and you're looking for a good game to come out, just came out.
Yeah.
It's cheaper
it's fun.
too. It's a cheaper game.
Yeah.
$30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to stuff that's coming out, we are coming up on E3. We got a lot of cool previews this week of the stuff that's going to be at E3. The first thing we did is we got to go and hang out at Capcom and see a couple of games that they're showing right now. Might as well talk about the one that stood out for me the most, which is Dark Void. And that is the 360 and PS3 third-person action
And
game.
PC.
Yes. Third-person action game where you are a fighter pilot and you kind of go through the Bermuda Triangle and find yourself in a strange new world, and you come across this jetpack. And so a lot of the gameplay is flying with the jetpack and then shooting and using cover in a kind of Gears of War style.
Are you being evasive as far as how you get the jetpack specifically, or
Well, I mean,
with the whole element of the guy, or are you trying to keep that?
You mean
so it doesn't
Nikola
spoil?
Tesla?
Well, that's exactly what I meant without saying it.
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's in
I just wanted to know if you were being.
It sounds cool, right?
It's epic. I mean, because that was the latest sits down.
I want to be clear. We played one level, and it was kind of in the middle of where the game is. So this game is going to be a fall game, and so we just kind of got a chance to play about 15, 20 minutes of one level start to finish. Right.
Yeah.
But it sounded cool. The story. So we didn't get to see any of that story play out.
She was basically like, you go through the Bermuda Triangle and meet Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? And he's like, no, I've been here making cool stuff, and here's a jetpack and stuff. So that, I was like, what? So it's like Rocketeer meets Lost, really, is what it is. It's like amazing. And the gameplay is so much fun. And you know why it's fun? Because it's really hard. It's like really hard to master, but it's sort of, you figure it out and you're like, okay, I get it, and it takes a little hitting into things and exploding to find out what's going on. But once you lock into it, it's like Gears of War with a floating mechanic. I mean, it was
because you
so
can
much
use
fun.
the jetpack anytime. You can hover with it, and you can sort of be behind cover like in most games, and then decide, oh, you know what? I'm just going to fly over to that guy, and you can use it. And you can also take off and use it in a really fast way where he kind of gets horizontal and is really going.
And the
there's
animation
no limit to when you can use it.
The animation was really fun.
Yeah, the
'cause I was like,
physicality
that's
of him
how I would
flying
do it
is
if I was
very-
like, oh crap, back,
It's
go!
very Greatest American Hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it.
Couldn't be more excited. This is the premise for the game, as you said, is perfectly. It's so geek centric. It's so like it's what Spielberg and Lucas constantly tap into, that old Republic serial vibe, that Flash Gordon-y.
Actually, this would make a great premise for a movie.
Yeah, I asked. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yes, it absolutely would. And I love I love that you can do any of the abilities at any time.
Yeah.
There isn't the vehicle level. I mean, perhaps there would be, but isn't like, this is a sniper level, this is this level, this is the level. Now, like I said, there might be those modes, but you have all these abilities.
You don't feel like you get into a vehicle and you feel like, now I need to use my ability to do this.
It's not jetpack time and shooting time. I can still use my jetpack in shooting time and figure out strategy that way. And I can break into enemy UFOs in a very cinematic way and then use those flying machines to... It's something that I was trying to tap into in discussing the Uncharted 2 multiplayer last week, and that how it's different playing this style of game as a multiplayer game than first-person shooter, because as you constantly first-person shooters, you do your routine.
Right.
And in this third-person-y game where you have all these contextual-based things to do,
you get to experiment. You get to play. It's almost like Wolverine.
You get to play.
Where they give you these abilities, and you just get to have fun connecting stuff together and figuring out how to do it. It's almost like
vertical platforming.
Yeah.
So Gears of War just has that hug to cover. This says vertical hugging to cover,
which was epic. Yeah.
I'm going to temper this a little bit because we did only see one level in the middle of the game, and as enthusiastic as you guys are, I am also enthusiastic. I think the game is going to be pretty cool, but I'm very worried about the level design, and I think what I saw in that level was pretty bland as far as you do this, you do fly and do the thing, and then you land, and then there's like
another box.
stuff to step behind until you go down the hallway and get to the guy to kill the guy, and then you go to the next hallway, and that hallway is vertical, which is cool, but it is just a hallway to get to the thing where you need to blow up the thing.
Right.
I'm hoping that they really blow out the options for the levels and make it a more interesting experience, because as cool as the concept is and the mechanic of playing it is, I was pretty underwhelmed by what I was actually doing.
Interesting. Okay.
Just so good, because this is very per our show. The score is done by Bear McCreary, who did the score to Battlestar Galactica, and it's the one thing of Battlestar Galactica that was always awesome.
Yeah.
So holy crap, setting the atmosphere and the tone for this game.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk about is Alex wasn't able to come. You were up in doing Dignation, but Dan and I were able to go
paying the bills
to EA. Yesterday, and we got to see a whole bunch of games, and a lot of them we're not able to talk about, but I do want to touch upon Brütal Legend.
Oh, you guys got to see Brütal Legend? Oh,
yes,
I'm
and Tim
jealous.
Schafer was there demoing the game, and holy cow, does it look inventive and clever and genuinely funny and smart. And Brütal Legend, if you don't know, is a game that has been in development for a while, starring Jack Black voicing the main character, and it's very much Tenacious D the game. It was his
I mean, he created it, right? It was
Jack Black created
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
I'm not aware
right.
of that. I thought Tim Schafer created it, but I'm not sure.
I thought the whole point was he had the idea. Jack had the idea. Maybe I'm
Maybe.
wrong. I mean, because it feels very Jack Black. It would be. I just sort of thought it was like Jack had an idea.
The
for a
way it
game
is
and then
is
got with the
there's this
developer.
roadie. You play the character of this roadie who has this demon belt, and he drops some blood on that demon belt, which awakens this demon, sucks him through a time portal, and he's in this other world that is built all around the tropes of heavy metal music. So it's like skulls and demons and
Axes and
The
yeah.
world was actually designed around heavy metal album art.
right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But the demo that we saw was sort of the beginning of the game, and it looked at first. I was very worried. I was like, this game looks really not that fun because it started out so linearly and just this third-person beat 'em up kind of thing, and then you get to a certain point, and Tim Schafer said to us, that was all to teach you how to play. Now the game opens up into this open world.
64 kilometers of
Square kilometers,
Square
yeah.
kilometers of open world.
Which is basically a meaningless number that doesn't.
It's just
It's
sounded
these
huge
things
to
that
me.
developers
Sounds
throw out.
It sounded
amazing.
massive.
Yeah. But I think you'll agree with me that the most fun, it looks like the cutscenes are all, you could just sit there and watch it as a cartoon. They're well animated, well voiced, and so smart and full of fun jokes and puns and
Here's
visual gags.
What's even more brilliant than that, and let me just say, I could not be more excited for this game,
Yeah.
is that I am currently downloading on my Xbox right now Psychonauts to play through again.
Oh yeah.
Tim Schafer's last
Because
game.
Tim
I
Schafer's
loved
last
it.
game,
Loved
which
that.
was brilliant and hysterical, and he employed in that the same thing that he employs in Brütal Legend, was it's the writing in the cutscenes brilliant, but the writing of the game,
Yeah.
in terms of not just are we getting funny Jack Black quips and story beat moments there, but we are also in the cutscenes, but we are also getting it as you're playing the game.
Yeah.
The story, which is something that the brilliant Jordan Mechner, who did Prince of Persia, he wrote an article about this,
Right.
where he also didn't just do cutscenes. He also had that relationship between the Farah and
Yeah.
as you're playing. And that is the way. I mean, I cannot wait to play this again just to hear the story that we already saw again and play out as you're doing things.
Yeah.
It really immerses you in the world. It's really just point blank, just brilliantly funny.
Yeah.
And the fact that it becomes open world and the different kinds of way you have your guitar is like magic.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
the concept is so
magic.
brilliantly
Explored.
Yeah.
It's every element is explored
Yeah.
of what would that be in this kind of world. Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's more stuff. We saw Fight Night Round 4. We saw a lot of cool stuff,
dude.
but I'm pouring with sweat, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna get out of here. So I think my new plan for the summer is to change shirts halfway through the show.
I love it. You
good
look
idea.
amazing.
I get the summer haircut to try to cool
Yeah.
down. Anyway, we're back in comics. We haven't done comics in far too long.
Agreed.
And I hope that if you've been wanting your weekly comic fix, you've been checking out our bros over at iFanboy on Revision 3, because they do every single week have come out with a new great episode about comics while you're waiting for us to talk about it. So last time we talked about comics, everybody loved Superman's Secret Identity, which is
Correct.
Kurt Busiek. And I promised in that show that we would talk more about Kurt Busiek because he's one of my favorite writers in all of comics. And really, there's two, as Dan would say, seminal works that can't be ignored when you're talking about Kurt Busiek. The first being Marvels, which came out in the mid-90s and was a teaming of Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross. And Alex Ross is a huge name in comics because he does paintings, very realistic looking paintings of superheroes, and it's almost as if this is kind of how it would look if these guys existed in the real world.
He's the Drew Struzan of comic book art. I only think because they both have books out of their art that are very similar. But he is.
Yeah. And so this teaming was Kurt Busiek, who's kind of known for writing superheroes in a very grounded, realistic way, with Alex Ross, who paints them in a very realistic way. And this is a story about Marvels, I mean, a story about superheroes really from the ground level. It's through the eyes of an average guy, this guy named Phil, who is a photographer working for the Daily Bugle. And we see sort of the course of his life, starting out as just a young kid working at the newspaper, all the way to advanced age. And we see him living in the Marvel universe, seeing these events that we've seen if we're big fans of Marvel, the big super events that have happened over the years in the Marvel timeline. So, but you see it as if you were a person living on the street.
Interesting.
So it's the old school original Human Torch fighting Namor in the skies, and what it would be like living in New York, going, holy crap, there's superheroes. This is the first time I've ever seen a superhero flying in the sky. What do I do? And not only that, painted in a way that you can kind of see, man, that would be what it would maybe look like.
Yeah.
Alex, did you dig Marvels?
I dig that comic book. I did not dig Marvels. And I'm thinking now, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm thinking that the reason why I didn't dig Marvels was because I didn't know. I didn't have any connection to the fact that Namor and Human Torch somehow fought. So
you
to
didn't
me,
get
it was
the-
just
the
random people
references.
fighting.
Right.
So for me, it was actually really sort of frustrating, because there was all this stuff. Because I love you, but I'm also a Capes and Cowls guy. So for me, it was like, all right, I'm hearing this story of a guy. I'm getting into it. I don't know how it's going to connect to super people, but it's cool. I'm getting into it. I'm letting it happen.
Yeah.
All right. And I was like, whoa, something happened. Something big just happened. But I didn't get any of it. I got a little,
There's a little too
it's
inside
this
baseball for you.
hand. It's like flaming hand, and it's like, you're the story I'm reading, not where did that come from? You know what I mean?
I think.
So it was, it was like Human Torch corner of the thing, whoop, and I'm at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And it's the Starbucks. Why is the guy at Starbucks story that I got? And that to me was just not. So
You
it was
wanna
just
see this stuff
I
in
want
the
to
sky.
see this stuff in the sky. I don't want to
Yeah.
see what
And the gimmick is
guy
that-
who was coming out of the can and goes, "Oh my God, look in the sky." I don't care what.
Well,
he
the
was doing
gimmick is
5
that
seconds
these
before.
stories have all already been told.
Exactly,
Which you didn't get to read.
I didn't get. So
I
for
get
me,
that.
it was just like
That makes sense.
A big cool fight that I didn't get to see.
It's interesting.
That I don't have any
I am
connection to.
It does make sense, though I am shocked because you are a Capes and Cowls guy.
Right.
And this is...
Which is why it was frustrating.
This reveres those Capes and Cowls moments.
Sure.
And I don't know if you said, but the comic book is seminal moments that have already happened throughout the history of comics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these stories were
They were the
drawn-
famous moments.
Yes, the big tentpole events of Marvel history that we saw in some of them 4-color old books drawn very stylistically,
Yeah,
and now
yeah,
we're
yeah.
seeing them as if wow, it's real.
I really liked it. I didn't love it. This is a comic that this came out right when I transitioned from buying this superhero comics to Judge Dredd and those kinds of Lobo and anti-hero stuff. So I remember going to the comic store and thumbing through the pages and just looking at the art, but not caring about the story stuff. I'm so glad that I finally read it now, because now I really can get into the story. And let me just say also that every panel, not every page, but every panel in this comic would be completely at home on a wall in a museum somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. And I would
His
love to own
compositions-
some of them.
His compositions are spectacular.
Yeah, it's worth it if you're an art person. You should definitely be looking at this comic book. I like the story. It didn't all lead to a conclusion that I felt ultimately satisfying in the way that Superman's Secret Identity tells the story of one man, go through the ages and his life experience. This comic didn't add up to me so it didn't totally do service to the premise pitched of it's what the people experience on the street, and it didn't totally do service to superhero-ness. It felt very autobiographical. It felt like yes, it's the story of a photographer taking photos of superheroes in that world, but it really feels like a comic book writer who experienced comic book stuff his whole life and is sort of
quite literally looked up
exactly,
Yeah.
and is sort of retelling his own story and what it means to be the person who tells the story of the gods, not the gods themselves. But yeah, I mean, I have more to say about Kurt Busiek.
Later.
I'll save it for the next comments.
What did you think?
Okay, well, I
mean,
mean, I love it. And it speaks to me because I grew up with those tales, that mythology, and to be able to rethink that mythology and look at it from a different perspective. Unfortunately, if you're hearing this and you're one of those people that loved you've already read this book. So it's more interesting to hear what you guys have said because that's the people that we're really speaking to. If you haven't heard of this book, I urge you to at least take a look at it. Maybe you'll end up not liking it very much, but I think it's an interesting way to think about superheroes.
And there's a lot of stuff to like in it. I mean, the art is amazing.
Yeah.
The writing is really, it's all very well done. It's just that for me, it was a frustrating experience because I love those moments and I don't know the stories of those moments. And they really do give you slices that are like, this is happening. And it was like, okay, I don't know those people.
Well, it's a great transition to the next book because Astro City really is the next step of that. It's Kurt Busiek with the same idea of talking about superheroes in a very real way, but he's starting from ground zero, creating up his own mythology based on tropes that we've seen in DC and Marvel. So these are analog characters all set in this one city, Astro City, that contains a Superman type guy named the Samaritan, contains a Batman type guy named the Confessor, contains a Spider-Man type guy, which is what's his name, Jack in the Box? It's been a while since I've read. But anyway, so there's these analogs to characters that we know that are slightly different, but they're based on the same sort of mythology. And it's a way for Busiek to really reimagine that world and make very human stories based on these kind of mythological characters. And it also is a reteaming of Busiek with Alex Ross. Alex Ross doesn't do the interior art, but he did all of the character designs and all the covers for all the Astro City books. And I think they co-own the property. So, Dan, you said you had something interesting to say. I love Astro City, and I specifically wanted you guys to read the second volume, which is the Confessor's story, which is sort of this Batman and Robin tale, but with a really, I feel, fantastic reveal at the end. What did you think?
I didn't care for the second volume as much, though I thought things in it were interesting. I didn't really like it as much. The first volume or trade,
Life in the Big City is what it's called.
Of Astro City, I did enjoy. It's an anthology, and like Tales from the Crypt, which explores different aspects to stories we've kind of heard before. This does as well. It's not like the Paul Greengrass superhero story, but it is a different. It sort of puts a magnifying glass on just like the first trade is just about him flying and having to get from catastrophe to catastrophe. So that's not like the real. It's not man on the street. Like Marvel's, but it is just honing on a specific aspect of being a superhero that we never, because most movies and stories and comics that explore, to tell superhero stories, tell the big story, the origin story, the overall arcing picture. We never get to look at, well, what is just that one kind of dynamic like?
Yeah.
And each issue sort of explores an individual dynamic of what it is to be a superhero. I found that very interesting. He definitely has a very classic style. He's a very good storyteller. He's a very good plotter. He
uses a lot of narration.
A lot of narration, and that's the thing. It's hard for me to get inside these stories, and I think Secret Identity was the exception, but in both Astro Cities and Marvels, it's hard for me to get inside because it feels like he's my grandfather telling me a story, as opposed, and I never get to see.
You hate your grandfather.
I never get to see relationships sort of back and forth. I never am reading conversation. I'm reading, this is the conversation that happened, and isn't that interesting?
Very personal,
as
though,
opposed to, right, it is, and there's things to that, but what I'm saying is, I'm always hearing that a conversation happened, as opposed to reading the conversation.
I hear ya.
And I think that puts up a little bit of a barrier to me. And his dialogue, the things that I love are how grounded and real comics have become, and that's why I love Bendis and Brian K. Vaughan and Garth Ennis. It's this wonderfully witty dialogue, and because it represents human behavior that I can get behind. He doesn't have that. But that is no slight against him. He does this other stuff wonderfully.
Yeah.
Like I said, very classical style. Not that I'm one that I'm particularly gravitating towards.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty clear where Dan and I sit as far as what I think these two
Left
books.
and right.
Well, but these two books I think really nail Dan and I's feeling on comics. He enjoyed the first one and didn't really care for the second one. I didn't really care for the first one, really enjoyed the second one. And the reason why is because the second one tells the story of a superhero and an origin story of his partner, basically. And very cool stuff in it. To me, that is more of a classic, this is a classic Batman episode, you know what I mean? Or trade or whatever. The first thing, it was that same frustration I felt in Marvel's where it was, I'm seeing this guy, like, this, the first issue is a great example. It's this guy talking about flying and how he has to fly from places to places. And it's this really great look into it, but to me, ultimately frustrating because it's like, I have to go do this amazing thing that Kid Alex inside wants to see.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see, and all I get
it's
is...
not about that.
It's not about that. It's
Right.
not about that. And it's cool that it's not about that because I can get that anywhere, you know what I mean? And that's the cool thing about it. But for me, it was ultimately, that first book, ultimately a little not satisfying because it was always just outside the reach, the thing that I really wanted to understand.
What do you guys think as far as like a book for people who are new to comics? Do you think Astro City is good? Not so much?
I don't think so. No.
No?
No.
It's a book I always recommend to people when
I think Powers has more of a way in for people.
Yeah.
Think that it's similar.
I don't-
postmodern.
you're not gonna get me to
I know.
argue against Power.
No, but I think I'm just saying.
There are
of that
better
ilk,
books,
There
yeah.
are better ways in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But it was great. I'm glad
I
I
love
read
Astro
it.
City.
Yeah. I like it. All right, well, before we get to our little treat for Danny TRS, we do want to thank our sponsors like GoDaddy.com. If you need a domain name, head over to GoDaddy.com. They've got great startup software for your site, protection services, tons of great stuff.
Always use protection.
Always use
Services.
protection, that's what they say. Domain names as low as $1.99, and if you use the coupon code TRS1 when you check out, you can save an additional $10 off any order of $40 or more. Also, go to revision3.com/GoDaddy and check out all the coupon codes so you can find the one that fits you correctly.
Look at
I also-
Jeff, like a proud father, just like, that's how you do it, son. That's how you
I
do
also
it.
want to tell you about Squarespace, the coolest web designing site you could possibly imagine. It's what you see is what you get. So you go to it to build your website, you just click on things, select from a radial menu what color you want. So super easy, you need no coding experience. In fact, my website, jeffcanada.com, was designed with this software. And it's being shot into space.
Oh!
Yeah, so
It won that competition.
It won that. It was so amazing that they're
Represent
shooting it into
the internet
space
to aliens.
so that if any alien creature intercepts it, they know that we are cultured people.
Running gag.
Running gag.
Love it.
Yeah, so go to squarespace.com, design your site. It is literally the best way to make a website. And if you go and use our promo code TRS, you will get 10% off the lifetime of your order. And if you're shooting
don't mess around.
your website into space, that's a long lifetime.
It is.
Forever, ever.
It's forever, ever.
All right, it's time to lay some serious down on you
Keeps
guys.
it at the connection.
Because Revision 3 is once again being sponsored by Click It or Ticket.
Nice.
You may remember from when they sponsored our show last year that you guys are all assholes if you don't wear seatbelts. I'm going to repeat. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you're an asshole. Apparently, 1 in 5 of you are assholes. So,
My God, surrounded by assholes.
I don't know if you've seen Spaceballs, but there's more assholes out there than there are flying on that ship.
On the space ball.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. Basically, 15,000 people in 2007 were saved by their seatbelts.
Wow.
About 5,000 people could have been saved if they were wearing a seatbelt.
It's like the superhero of driving garments.
Yes.
Not a garment, but it's
if
a
garments
peripheral.
were fictional characters, then yes. So listen, don't be a douchebag. Wear a seatbelt.
Love it.
Seriously.
And then also you can get a ticket now.
Yeah.
They're not
That's
gonna,
the
they're
truth,
screwing
too.
around.
That's the truth.
That's such witty comments there. Look.
Truth.
So now we want to tell you about Hack 5. All right, people. If you're not watching Hack 5, you don't know how to use your computer or Linux or
Those
any
guys,
of that stuff. Those guys
are like what I used to be when I was younger, when I really took time to freaking
I
get
know.
in there.
I
and now
know.
it's more fun to just watch them do
I know
it.
it's easy because I'm like, I don't know about hash coding or whatever, or
Yeah.
code hashing or hash piping. I don't even know. That's not it.
piping.
They're doing tons of crazy stuff over there. Virtualization, all sorts of crazy stuff. But watch them every Wednesday on Revision 3, revision3.com/HAK5. Check them out. We love those guys. Now, this is where we would usually, not yet. This is where we would usually
Tell me when.
answer an email. I will in 2 seconds.
Are we answering an email?
We're not going to answer an email this
How come?
week
How come?
because it is Little Danny Two Strikes. He's getting one day older.
we can't say.
Doing little dances.
We can't sing a certain song. We can go. Happy birthday,
happy birthday. We love you.
All right, here we go with the Olive Garden.
Yeah, right. All right, so we got you this little thing. We kind of pulled together. It's
You pulled it
It's a piece of cardboard.
pieces of cardboard. So I don't. Maybe we should get some scissors. Hold on.
Wow.
Stop down. I can use my golf thing to open it.
There's
Thanks,
scissors
Dad,
right here.
for giving me this. This is when you play golf, you have to. Oh, you got scissors.
Yeah, there was no need to
What is
stop
that
down.
for golf?
I just went.
It's a divot tool. You pick your divots.
Oh, in the grass?
Yep.
I'm excited. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
First off, it's not a box.
What's in
Mike
the
can cut all this out.
I'm gonna
We're
guess,
opening his present for him.
I'm gonna guess a
I know.
poster of some
No,
sort.
come on.
What are we new?
What are the likelihood of
It
that?
can't be a video game or a DVD.
It could be a
Okay.
very unlikely
okay.
way to package it.
You can now open them.
Careful,
Wait,
careful.
Let me just
Damn.
see. Hold on, wait.
Careful. Yeah,
It's
there
upside
it
down.
is.
Wait, stop. It's upside down.
Okay.
No, it isn't. Is it?
I thought so. Wait. Hold it and shield your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Should I open it so they can see it too? Like,
Sure.
Yeah, this is awkward and weird.
Oh, it's upside down.
I know what it is! Because, oh my god! Awesome, dude!
I don't know what that's green on it.
Awesome! Oh, that's not green.
There's portions of this you may not be able to see, but we'll see
Dude.
through.
Yeah.
Believe it's amazing.
This is from the art show, damn, dudes, you rock! The, what's it called? Any problems downloading, please email Jude.
You get to download a ringtone too.
Yeah.
Because you buy that.
So this is from the, what is that art showing called? A gallery?
Idiot something? Idiot.
Something, the TV, they had a big movie one here on Melrose.
yeah,
you probably
yeah.
saw my Twitter about it.
I did.
You did, because I said my birthday or something. This is an awesome Saved by the Bell.
Limited
As if
edition.
It was an 8-bit
There's only
video game.
13 of these. It's a print on canvas.
Dude,
So you got
You should
one of the last
smell
ones.
the legitimacy.
amazing.
And since Dan is a huge Saved by the Bell fan and also a 8-bit video game fan,
yeah.
And 8-bit art
it's a little
fan.
disturbing, but you like it, so that's cool.
Dude.
Good. It's if Screech
It looks-
went nuts and
Screech
killed
went a little
everybody.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
happy
Well, happy
birthday, my
birthday,
friend.
Dan.
Amazing.
Happy
It's from
birthday.
all of us.
Thank you so much.
All of us here at TRS.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
1 year
you.
older, and we symbolize it with this.
Awesome, dude.
All right. Well,
we should probably say some
We should probably
things.
say all the things. So, though there was no email, there will be next week. If you want to send in an email, please feel free to do so. fans@totallyradshow.com.
That's also, you would send us a background, like this kick-ass one. Also, if you want to be part of the show, at the beginning of the show, we do need those mission videos. You can go to totallyradshow.com/mission. In fact, missions, excuse me. It doesn't need to be in the spy motif. We're getting a lot of that are, and that's cool. If
And
you want-
Mike kicked butt
Mike
this
Mike
week.
was awesome.
creating a
He sent us
brilliant-
2, and they're really, really
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So we love those videos. We're gonna keep, asking for them every single week. You go to missions on Wednesday, or you can follow our Twitter and find out exactly when the specifics of our mission go up. But we love the creativity we're seeing. But like I said, you don't need to have it be all spy themed. Just do whatever you want, and
And you have basically between Wednesday and Friday to be awesome. So it's like a 48-hour film festival.
It is. It is. We love it.
Yeah.
Also, head over to jinx.com. Be sure to get a little piece of TRS yourself with a little bit of TRS swag. All right, people, that is it for this episode of The Totally Rad Show. I'm Alex Albright.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
Until next time, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom!
Feel my ass before you leave tonight.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Ready?
I always thought it was hold on, but it's okay.
Hey guys, my name is Stefan and I go to the Royal Military College of Canada. As you can see, I am currently confined to barracks. So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is 1. Review the movie, The Girlfriend Experience, the video game, Klonoa, and the comics, Marvels and Astro City. And 2, and most importantly, keep me from going completely insane in here. Troops, carry on, and Godspeed.
Also, take a look back at the comics Marvels and Astro City. End of transmission. Mom, is there any meatloaf left?